It's all right, Elon. We understand why you're looking at Matt Gaetz like the last turkey leg at Thanksgiving dinner, because the entire country is looking at this man like that after he successfully ousted Kevin McCarthy as Speaker of the House. Now, there is a long list of reasons as to why both conservatives and leftists wanted Kevin McCarthy out. But at the top of that list is the fact that Matt Gaetz and the majority of the country was tired of Kevin McCarthy working with Joe Biden to hold the country hostage in order to send money to Nazis. So I applaud Gaetz for sparking the fire of accountability that his party and the Democrats were unwilling to do until he decided to do so. Now, the ousting of Kevin McCarthy brought many of us back to the moment where we asked AOC and the squad to force the vote. Basically, when Nancy Pelosi was running for Speaker of the House, AOC and the squad had the ability to force a vote on universal health care in the middle of the pandemic or stop Nancy Pelosi from being House Speaker. In other words, we asked the squad to hold Pelosi accountable for not governing on behalf and in the best interest of her constituency. You know, like what Matt Gaetz just did. And what they told us is that trying to force a Speaker of the House to correctly implement legislation for the benefit of the people would never work. And therefore, we shouldn't even try it. You know, the same thing Republicans told Matt Gaetz when he announced that he was going to oust McCarthy. But Gaetz ignored the 98% of Republicans that supported McCarthy, and McCarthy was ousted anyway. It's almost as if holding someone accountable shouldn't be a matter of whether or not you can gain the political upper hand, but should only be a matter of whether or not it's the right thing to do. All I'm saying is, Matt Gaetz got a lot of y'all progressives in Congress looking real suspect right now. How dare Mitch McConnell arrest these anti-war activists? Hold on, what? Excuse me, I meant, how dare Nancy Pelosi arrest these anti-war activists outside her? Hold on. Take 3. How dare Chuck Schumer arrest these? Oh shit. Y'all said they got arrested outside of Bernie Sanders' office. Oh, you heard me correct. Bernie Sanders had anti-war activists who were protesting his support of the Ukraine war arrested outside of his office. Now, this may have surprised a lot of people because, well, Bernie Sanders and his supporters have kind of always painted him as this huge anti-war, pro-peace activist type of politician. And that's because Bernie has always hid behind his criticisms of George Bush's invasion of Iraq. But I wasn't surprised when I found out code pink activists were getting arrested outside of his office, because I remember Bernie's history. So y'all might not remember, but Bernie supported the first Persian Gulf War. And Bernie joined along with the rest of the Senate to support the war in Afghanistan. And Bernie not only went along with the resolution to overthrow Gaddafi in the Senate, but he asked the UN Security Council to validate it with another resolution, just to be sure. Then there was that time he assisted in violating international law by approving the bombing of Serbia. I mean, I can do this all day, but I think you get the point. Basically, throughout his tenure in the legislature, there's not been a single international conflict where Bernie Sanders didn't support US intervention. In other words, this is who Bernie Sanders is and has always been. That guy you saw in 2016, that guy you saw in 2020 when the lights were shining on him, it was an act. And it's time for people to accept this. But admittedly, you have to appreciate the irony, right? Because how did Bernie Sanders go from an activist being arrested to using his power to get activists arrested? Bravo, Bernie. Bravo. You put on a hell of a show. You did. But I, for one, am happy that people see you for who you actually are. For the love of all things kosher, can y'all please stop making this argument that Ukraine can't possibly have a neo-Nazi problem because Zelensky is Jewish? Because, I don't think you guys understand how ridiculous you sound making the "I got 3 black friends, so I can't be racist" argument. And just to show you all how ridiculous you sound, we're going to do a little exercise. Wow. Wasn't it so great how racism was suddenly eliminated and the KKK completely disappeared the moment Barack Obama became president? That was just stellar. Yeah, right. So you're gonna tell me the segregationist, the author of the 94 crime bill, the guy who said, you're not black if you don't vote for me, he's gonna win the majority of black votes? Really? Okay. Hillary Clinton has been just such a staunch and consistent advocate for women's rights. Like, I can only imagine how well the women at the Clinton Foundation get paid, considering that it's her organization. Yeah, that's what I'm talking about. First African president. We finally gonna get some justice in Africa. There's a 0.00% chance that the first African president overthrows an African leader and brings back slavery. Like, so we're good. We should be good, right? So do you see how fucking ridiculous it sounds to say that because Zelensky is Jewish, there can't possibly be a Nazi problem? I mean, bro, there was literally just a march in Ukraine celebrating the Waffen Nazi battalion like 4 or 5 days ago. Like, Zelensky can't even walk into a country and go ask for money for support for the Ukraine war without an entire parliament accidentally applauding a Nazi. Come on. We really can't even post Ukrainian soldier uniforms on social media like that because there are so many Nazi insignias that pop up that you literally get banned for doing so. Like, I'm not monetized on Instagram right now for posting Ukrainian uniforms. My point is, claiming that because Zelensky is Jewish, that means there can't possibly be a neo-Nazi problem is merely Western propaganda so that you don't complain when your tax dollars go to fund the very same neo-Nazis that the US legislature said they shouldn't be funding just a few years ago. What is going on, everybody? We are live right now on both YouTube and Rockfin. We were having some trouble once again with Rumble, so won't be live on Rumble today, but it's okay. Make sure y'all like this video. Make sure y'all share this video. Shout out to people in let's see, we got people already on YouTube. What's up? What's up? What's up? Got 77 people watching on YouTube. That means we should have 77 likes. Free Palestine, indeed. Free Palestine, indeed. Y'all are tuning in to this live stream segment of For the People podcast. And I feel like today that name is more appropriate than ever because there seems to be some inconsistency, some ideological inconsistency with this Israel-Palestine conflict that we're going to address. In addition to that, we're going to talk about this Max Blumenthal, Ben Norton beef. Y'all going to see me. It's hot, boy. Y'all know I live in Rio, right? It's hot in Rio today. So, we're going to be sweating, but we're going to get it done because this stuff has to be addressed. In addition to that, Ukraine allegedly is recruiting ISIS. It's funny because it seems like ISIS in Ukraine has the same sources of income, right? We're going to talk about that too. And we got some other stuff we're going to talk about as well. But first and foremost, and most importantly, this Israel-Palestine conflict. And I really don't even like calling it a conflict, but I call it a conflict. But in reality, it's the Israel-Palestine apartheid. That's what it is. Israel is an apartheid state that effectively, as far as diplomacy is concerned, military capability and cooperation with Western nations are concerned, financial support, power, even nuclear weapons. Like, literally, Israel holds all the cards and all the allies, except for, of course, the attempt for freedom fighters to liberate themselves. And apparently that's going a little bit better than usual because you got Israeli airports. It's kind of filled up. kind of they fleeing, they running off. This is a little bit different. Now, how this whole thing started, or I should say, how the mainstream media started paying attention, and how your favorite influencers, and that's sarcasm, started paying attention, and how presidential candidates and Congress people started paying attention was basically yesterday morning, Friday night, depending on where you're at. Israel got bombed. And it wasn't one of those situations like normal where you see like, oh, it's like just between, it's just on the Gaza Strip, like type of situation. Nah, like Tel Aviv in areas populated with civilians were bombed. That's what started the conversation in mainstream social media. And I'm trying to be specific about that because I want you all to understand it's only because Israel got attacked finally. And I say finally because y'all weren't paying attention, not y'all, but they, AOC, these presidential candidates, the international media, Zionists, neocons, Joe Biden, all of them. They weren't around this week while Palestinian villages were being attacked. They weren't around when a 19-year-old boy got killed. Like they don't know. They just thought that the Palestinians woke up and decided we're just gonna bomb the hell out of Israel. We're gonna bomb the hell out of Israeli cities. That is how people are projecting the narrative. But this is, I'm just give y'all an example. Because I can't, that's the worst part about this whole situation is this narrative that, these unprovoked attacks. That is a lie told by imperialist oppressors. And this is a consistent theme with oppressors. They always lie. It's a consistent theme with abusers, whether it be political or otherwise. They lie and say, oh, you deserve this. Whatever you did to me was unprovoked. Any attempt at self-defense is always declared as being unprovoked, but it's a lie. So let me just give y'all just an example. What happened this week that some of us talked about. I was surprised that this was covered in AP, but here we are. AP. Israeli settler accused of involvement in killing of Palestinian moved to house arrest. So let's go ahead and talk about that. This is from August 9th, right? I'm just giving y'all examples of what has been taking place over the last weeks and months. This is from August 9th. The Israeli settler suspected of involvement in killing a 19-year-old Palestinian man in the West Bank last week was released from detention on Wednesday and transferred to house arrest, the Jerusalem court said. The Israeli judge said that there was insufficient evidence to extend the detention of the radical Jewish settler Elisha Yared. The court also ordered a second Israeli settler accused of shooting and killing the 19-year-old Qusay Maton, forgive me for the mispronunciation, to remain in custody while being hospitalized for wounds sustained during the attack last Friday on the Palestinian herding village of Burqa. For Matar's family and other Palestinians, Yared's transfer to house arrest seemed to underscore the sense of impunity enjoyed by Jewish extremists in the occupied West Bank. They did something horrific, so immoral, said Matan's 34-year-old uncle, Hamam. We can only expect these attacks to continue. So, and this is just from August. Unprovoked, right? Now imagine once again that a Palestinian or Palestinians go into Israel, start destroying the city, and kill a 19-year-old boy. The whole world would be it would be an uproar, at least in the West. And the attacks in the villages have been happening consistently over the last several weeks and couple of months. This is just the fact. This is reality. Now, like I said, that happened in August. Where was the news at? Where were the speeches? Where was the social media outrage from Biden? To at least, because you, even with the people who like to play the old, both sides. Where was the both sides? At least that, right? At least can we get that? But they wouldn't even talk about that. They wouldn't even pull out the both sides stick. They act like this never happened. Meanwhile, this motherfucker, this man's smiling. Look at him. Yep, I'm about to get off. Yep, you damn right. Because this is my country. Because I know who's in charge. Because I am Israeli and you are Palestinian, and I will get away with this. I want to see if I can find this video for y'all real quick. Of this young Palestinian girl who had her house bulldozed. Oh, matter of fact, before we play that, here's another. This is last week. Israeli settlers attacked another village. Because, like, I'm tired of this unprovoked shit. Like, if you have a background, whether it be because of your race, ethnicity, just maybe you've been gaslighted your whole life, people bullied you. If you come from a background like that, when you hear, maybe you come from a history of abuse, when you hear, oh, your defense was unprovoked, that should set you off. When you're finding out, when you're seeing stuff like this, it's hard for me to do Israel-Palestine content, y'all. Because you see stuff like this. You see just people gaslighting you. Another kid gets killed. It doesn't matter, right? It doesn't matter, because if you defend yourself, it's unprovoked. Why, just peace. Why can't Palestine just be peaceful? Just take your ass whipping and keep it moving. That's exactly what they expect Palestinians to do, right? Well, I'm gonna find this video from this little girl. It was brave, but it was also just sad. I thought I had it in my file. That's why I have to look for it. So sorry, there's a lot of this content out here. There's a lot of Israel Palestine stuff, and thought I had it, but I didn't have it, so I have to look for it. But maybe some of you all have seen it already, with a little girl who said, "Oh, y'all think just because y'all bulldoze my house that we're just gonna like roll over and lie down?" And she's like, "Nah, we're not putting up with it." Maybe I'm gonna have to wait to find it. Sorry, guys. Unfortunately, I can't find it right now. Thought I had it on here though, but it's a video of a young woman, young little girl, really. I say young woman, but it's a little girl who like literally goes home. Oh, here I found it. As I'm about to explain it to you. Here we go. This is same shit, different conflict, same stories. And I don't know how this video, like, because you seen all these tweets. Oh man, what about the kids? Look at what's happening to the kids, women and children. That's what the trope that they keep trafficking in. Like they care about the kids, right? But they don't care about kids. They don't care about the women. They care about Israeli kids, Israeli women.
يعني هاد الدار رح نخاف كثير، رح نخاف. رح ينقلع. أول ما إجينا من المدرسة لقينا الزرافات باب الدار قاعدين بيهدوها، ولقينا كل الناس على باب الدار. غرفتي ولا عيبي ورحوا معي.
My room is gone, my toys, my closet, my bed.
بس رايحين نطلع من القدس لأنه هم قوات
Unprovoked.
عمالهم بيطلعونا من دارنا، وعمالهم بيطلعونا من القدس، عمالهم بيطلعونا من فلسطين. نروح بس نبص رجلهم، لا والله فشرت عينهم كمان. يعني على أساس إنهم هاد الدار يعني رح نخاف كتير. واو، يعني هاد الدار رح نخاف كتير، رح نخاف. رح ينقلع. أول ما إجينا من المدرسة.
Bro, why should that little girl have to like speak in this manner?
لقينا كل الناس على باب الدار. غرفتي ولا عيبي ورحوا معي ورحت خزينتي، رحت تختي. بس رايحين نطلع من القدس لأنه هم قوات احتلال، عمالهم بيطلعونا من دارنا، وعمالهم بيطلعونا من القدس، عمالهم بيطلعونا من فلسطين.
Unprovoked though.
نبص رجلهم، لا والله فشلوا.
Y'all heard what she said, right? Or read what she said. They're forcibly expelling us from our homes. They're forcibly expelling us from Jerusalem. They're forcibly expelling us from Palestine. Unprovoked. I am thoroughly convinced at this point that maybe they just don't, maybe these Zionist apologists have zero idea what unprovoked means. You think that could be it? Maybe they just don't know what unprovoked means. Because when you have a little girl telling you, because once again, I had to find that video because I've read so many bullshit comments. What about the kids? You don't care that the Palestinians are kidnapped? First of all, I'm not gonna believe shit until, because basically what you're trying to convince me of, right? You're trying to convince me that all of a sudden the Palestinians have the ability to kidnap en masse dozens and dozens and dozens of women and children in a way that they've never done before. Like, but this time it's no, that's not what happened. What happened was because everyone was going to be like, well, what? Because people are wising up. People are going to be like, what sparked this attack? Because this is extreme, even compared to attacks in the past. We normally don't see Palestinian rebels escalate to this degree. I mean, let alone without a cause, but in general, they don't have, like, what was it? What caused it? So instead, they're like, oh man, this attack is unprovoked. Oh, by the way, there's some women and children missing. And man, y'all don't care. This little girl's telling you right now what happened to her. And I didn't see the both sides people, let alone the Zionists. Of course, I expect the Zionists to ignore the plight of children in Palestine. I expect that. I expect them to ignore the deaths of civilians and innocent children and women in Palestine. Like, I expect, but the both sides people, right? The ones who pretend like they want peace. Why is it that y'all only talk about both sides whenever the oppressed respond to the oppressors? When the oppressed say, I am fucking done, this is over, we're not putting up with this anymore, that's whenever it's both sides gotta chill. Both sides need to. Both sides. There is no both sides. I hate the fact that innocent lives are being lost. I do. Like, in any capacity. I don't like the fact that innocent people are being killed in Israel, because I do know for a fact that there are a lot of Israelis who don't support the expansion of Israel into Palestine. I know that for a fact. I met them. Some people are just there because their family is there, their livelihood is there, their lives are there. I get that. I do not like the fact that innocent people on either side but don't make the mistake of saying that this is a both sides situation. Like, for example, if Afghanistan, which is obviously never going to happen, but if Afghanistan, the Taliban somehow decided to invade the U.S. in response, or better yet, Iraq. Say if Iraq invaded the U.S. in response to what we did during the Iraq War, which was lie. We created a lie for why we went in. We got their leader assassinated. We killed millions. The United States killed millions of Iraqis. If Iraq responded and U.S. lives were lost because of that, innocent lives, I can't be like innocent, like both. This is a both side situation. No, I'm like, it's absolutely atrocious and disgusting that American lives were lost because the U.S. could not rein in the empire and its desires to control the world. That is what I would say. The lives of innocent U.S. civilians in this theoretical, hypothetical case, if Iraq decided we're going to invade because of what the U.S. did, the lives of those Iraqis are on the hands of the U.S. empire, and the lives of those innocent civilians are on the hands of the U.S. empire. There is no both sides. There have been innocents. There have been innocent lives, like taken, obviously, from Palestine, taken from Palestine, but also taken from Israel. And guess whose fault it is? Israel. It is Israel's fault that Israeli lives have been taken. You know who I blame for 9/11? Oh, yeah, Saudi Arabia, but I blame the United States. Because if you look at everything that, like the court cases, if you look at the evidence, the fact that they knew it was going to happen, the fact that Al-Qaeda was created by the United States, the fact that Osama bin Laden was able to get his power through the help of the U.S., I blame the U.S. for the lives that were taken that day. I don't blame, like, it's not a both sides situation. It's the U.S. did this. It's the U.S.'s fault. And if they would have not been the U.S. empire we know them to be, none of that happens. Israel, similar to Ukraine, they're putting innocent lives in danger, the lives of their own citizens in danger, just so they can have an excuse to continue an illegal, unlawful expansion and assault on the Palestinian people and their land. And they can hide behind the innocent lives that were taken because of retaliation that came from Israeli aggression. There is no both fucking sides, bro. There isn't. And I'm sick of that. I used to be like, nah. I used to be like, look, you know, I get it. You know, Israel's wrong, but like we have to end the fight somehow. Palestine should give way. No, damn that. You know why? Do y'all know how long the South African apartheid actually lasted? Like, I know officially, I think it says something like 1950, something like that, 1950, 1960. That's what the official narrative is. The apartheid in South Africa really started when Cecil Rhodes took it over, which was like the late 1800s, early 1900s. Yeah, the guy from the Rhodes Scholarship. That's when the South African apartheid really started. And it was developed, it was mastered, it was then given like legality through policy over the course of damn near 100 years. And do you know why? Because of the same type of motherfuckers who were talking about Israel's a victim. Because you decided with your imperialist ass to go into somebody else's land, and you were surprised when they're pissed off enough to kick your ass off of it. This is the same, bro, the same country that got a bunch of motherfuckers. Y'all got, excuse me, like, y'all got kids in the room. I apologize. Like this, like I said, the Israel, like it's like talking about police violence. Because I've been a victim of police violence, it's an emotionally draining issue for me to talk about. It's difficult for me to talk about those issues, not because I don't care about them, but because it is personal. And you have the same type of people who pretend like they didn't see the apartheid for the last 100 years in Africa. They're the same people that act like they don't see the apartheid in Palestine. It's not important. Why? It's not important to them that there's an apartheid. They will not call it an apartheid. The only reason they called it an apartheid in South Africa eventually was because, I mean, literally they had made it policies. And it wasn't necessarily considered a bad thing, unfortunately. But because they don't care, this is what I mean when I say like, not the Nazis won. Y'all, like we go back to this World War II conversation. This is what I mean when I say the Nazis won. This is what I mean. Yup, Hitler died. Nazis didn't lose. That's not the same thing. Hitler died. Nazis didn't lose. I mean, if y'all want to, we can talk about the fact that they ended up getting in some of the most powerful positions in the world, amongst the most powerful Western organizations in the world. We can talk about the fact that Hitler's top brass ended up running NATO, running NASA. Like that's like like bare minimum. We can talk about Operation Paperclip. People talk about Operation Paperclip saying, oh, the Nazis defected. They didn't fucking defect. They were always working for us. That was their job. That's like saying Ford and GM and GE defected to the US. No, they literally were working with the US. Obviously, they're US companies. And they had Nazi subsidiaries. Why? Because the US government let it happen. Because the US propped up Hitler. They funded. Like this is you got to remember, Germany is a country that supposedly should have never been able to have a standing military because of the Treaty of Versailles after World War I. And yet the US watched them sit back and violate every single agreement, every single sanction, while the US's companies were. In other words, this was always the plan. Hitler died. Nazism did not.
Then look at foreign policy from the US and the West after. You take all these European, Eastern European Jewish people, put them smack dab in Israel, like, yeah, we're going to take y'all land. All those brown Palestinians, those Christian Palestinians, and Jewish Palestinians too, because there are Jewish Palestinians there already. There were the Muslim Palestinians. That didn't matter. Why? Oh well, Great Britain said it was cool, and the U.S. is telling us we have to. So whatever, their lives or whatever. No, no, that's not how it works. But that is we believe that they are lesser because of their religion, because of their race, because of their ethnicity, et cetera, et cetera. Oh, that's not enough. Okay. Why do we go into Vietnam? They say it was communism. Meanwhile, we see much of Europe at this point, like transitioning into what is known as democratic socialism without a peep, without a single complaint from the U.S. But we go into Vietnam. We get our asses handed to us, but we go into Vietnam trying to do what we always do. Why are we just able to go into Libya, overthrow a country, leaving it open to slavery, to literally a slave trade? How can we get away with everything we get away with Africa, with the AFRICOM mission? How are we able, like, could you imagine? You can never imagine the U.S. going into Norway, for example, just going in there, just taking that bitch over. Could you imagine that? Hell no. Could you imagine, just for a second? So y'all know, obviously, there's a European Union. Some of you may know there's an African Union. Gaddafi was the chairman of the African Union. Could you fucking imagine the U.S. because of the policies they didn't like from the chairman of the EU? Could you imagine the U.S. going in and assassinating the chairman of the EU and overthrowing his country? You could never. Why? Why? The Nazis' greatest enemy became Russia. Interesting. Who was the first country? What was the first country the U.S. went after the moment World War II was over? The first country. Years, just a few years after World War II is over, all of a sudden Stalin's assassinated. And Cold War begins because the U.S., the Dulles brothers and the dickhead Churchill lied to Truman about the Yalta Conference, of course, because he's an idiot. He was always a useful idiot, to get them to go after Russia. And who was the Nazis' greatest enemy? Oh, coincidence. And NATO was created to defeat who? And who was in charge of NATO again? Who was running NATO? Oh, the fucking Nazi. Interesting. That is so interesting. Hitler died. The Nazis didn't lose. And in case this conclusion wasn't obvious, my point is, Hitler died, the Nazis didn't lose. So who are the Nazis? And how did the Nazis become Nazis to the point where they started a world war? Well, who's Russia's greatest adversary outside of the Nazis? Oh, that's weird. America. Who brought the Nazis over? The West. America. Who controls organizations that the Nazis were put in charge of after World War II? The West and America. I mean, who basically forced Israel to be established? Because people don't even know, the rest of the world didn't even want Israel to be established. But who has the power, people, to take Israel, these Jewish people, Eastern European Jewish people specifically, and just place them in the middle of a goddamn country and expect everyone, oh, maybe the country that's funding. So you're telling me the same country that funded the Nazis, the same, I mean, literally the original Nazis, the same country that allowed GE, Ford, GM to fund the Nazis, okay? That same country that is also currently funding the Nazis in Ukraine, like literally. So they were funding them then, they're funding them now. Okay. That is the same country that is simultaneously funding Israel. And some people would make the argument potentially, well, no, that's different. Israel is a Jewish state. It is a Jewish country. As long as if you're Jewish, it's all good. Which, by the way, is inherently wrong. It's inherently discriminatory. And the same people that scream when you call out legitimate racism, the same people that scream you're fucking race baiting, have no problem with the exclusively Jewish state. But I digress. Yeah. So you're telling me the same country that literally got caught sterilizing Ethiopians, not Ethiopian Muslims, not Ethiopian secular, like Jewish Ethiopians, that same country. That's not Nazi behavior. Y'all don't think that's, y'all, what's that, Dr. Umar book? Y'all don't think that's suspicious? Y'all don't find that suspicious? Hitler died. Nazis didn't lose. The same kind of world domination that seemed to be the goal of Hitler was achieved. Who runs the World Banks? Okay. Who runs NATO? Why is the UN? Why is Haiti about to be invaded by several UN nations? Oh, because the UN Security Council, that is spearheaded by who? The US. Yeah, we're going. Did Haiti get a vote? Haiti don't get a vote. That's a country full of black people. Hell no, Haiti don't get a vote. When you like, they won, y'all. I don't know what else to tell y'all. Like, they won. And I'm not talking about these fake ass. I'm not talking about the Nazis in the U.S., the mean, like, racist. Like, fuck, that's baby shit. Yes, racism is real. We know that. That is like down here compared to what I am talking about. U.S. foreign policy, NATO foreign policy, French foreign policy, UK's foreign policy, the European Union's foreign policy. It is ran and crafted by Nazis and their descendants. And I know, history is hindsight, but at this juncture, it should be painfully obvious. And once again, there are a lot of people who have never heard the stories about how Ethiopian Jews were sterilized upon arrival in Israel. Why had that story, like, why was that not international breaking news on every single news channel? Oh shit, that's right. Because Israel is not about protecting Jewish people. And protecting Israel isn't about protecting Jewish people. It's about protecting a very specific group of white people who do the bidding of the West. Ashkenazi Jews are white people. I don't know, like people like to, I'm not white, I'm Jewish. No, why do y'all have two different classifications then? Why do y'all have Sephardic Jews and Ashkenazi Jews? Y'all go out of your way to be classified differently. Fun fact, learned this from Richard Medhurst today. Did you know there has never been a single prime minister in Israel that was not an Ashkenazi Jew or was born of an Ashkenazi Jew? Could y'all imagine a world where there's an Ethiopian prime minister of Israel? Think about that. Could you imagine that? Like, just think, like, yeah, I can see that. No, you can't. No. In a world where somehow Netanyahu keeps getting elected, even with all the corruption, somehow he keeps getting put in power. Y'all think no. So if it's a state to protect Jewish people, then why aren't all Jews being protected and elevated? Why somebody explain? Oh, that's right, because the Nazis won. I don't care if they call themselves Israeli this time. I don't care if they call themselves Americans this time. I don't care if they said, well, we're part of NATO. I don't care if you call yourself Western European. I don't care what you. I don't ignore patterns. I don't ignore what I see, what I hear. There is no both sides. There are the oppressed and there are the oppressors. And when innocent lives are lost on either side, it is always the fault of the oppressor. There is no both sides. And you will know who the oppressor and the oppressed is, because when the innocent lives on the side of the oppressed are taken, you will not fucking hear about it. Not from the people who have the power to do something about it. That's why that original statement from Cornel West was extremely disappointing. His statement basically was both sides. Now, according to Peter Dow's Twitter, he amended his statement and made it more clear. But like Cornel West has historically been on the side of Palestinians. But now you're running for president, academic, got your liberal, neoliberal friends, brothers and sisters. And now it's a both sides thing. My question is, where were these comments at earlier this? Oh, that's right. You didn't say anything earlier this week whenever the fucking Palestinian villages were being attacked. RFK Jr., peace candidate, maybe on every issue except for this one. And if you're not for peace and holding the oppressor accountable, then you are not a peace candidate. You, by definition, you cannot be a peace candidate. I would have rather you just said nothing. But neither Dr. West or RFK Jr. had anything to say when we were talking about how Israelis were acting. Once again, just earlier this week. This was just several days difference, and y'all had nothing to say. I always ask myself, I say, because before, when 8, 9, 10 years ago, it was a little bit more difficult to discern because of propaganda that we are all subject to, unfortunately. It was a little bit more difficult to discern whether or not, like, whose side I should and so it's much easier when you're not educated and when you don't understand the patterns to say both sides got to get it together, man. Right? Like but now we got benefit of hindsight. And we have the benefit of one consistent pattern. I don't need to figure out. Like, y'all gotta go talk to this person, talk to this person, talk to this. One question. Hey, real quick, who's the US fund? Which side do they give military funding to? Fuck that side. It's that easy now. I don't have to spend. Oh, I mean, yeah, do research. Obviously, you want to collaborate. Do investigative research, collaborate, find the patterns. But it's a pretty solid starting point at this juncture, right? Pretty easy. Who does the U.S. fund? Israel. Okay. Who has the nuclear weapons? Israel. Okay, interesting. Who has been able to violate international law after international law after international law? In the same way that the U.S. can constantly violate international law after international law. Oh, Israel. Okay. Interesting. Who's the one that can bomb Syria out of, like, literally? Yeah. I mean, how many times have we seen Israel wakes up one morning and just got an itch to bomb the shit out of Syria, and no one gets punished? Why is that? Because who's the U.S. funding? It is that easy. And these candidates, these politicians try and pretend otherwise. Maybe because they don't want to seem like they're anti-American. I don't know. They don't want to like they're like, I know the I don't give a damn about the anti-Semitic trope. I really don't. Like, y'all want to call anybody who criticizes Israel anti-Semitic, just show them the article. I'm anti-Semitic. Interesting. What did you have to say about literally Ethiopian Jews getting sterilized? Oh. By Israel's definition, Israel's anti-Semitic. That trope is bullshit. And it also completely minimizes the reality that Palestinian people are Semitic. So you're once again trying to erase their identity, like you're trying to erase their homes, like you're trying to erase their claim to the land that they've grown up on generations. Like you're trying to erase their dignity. To pretend it's only Jewish people, Ashkenazi Jewish people who are Semitic, is a fucking lie. But you can't use the term unless you're talking about random Ashkenazi Jewish people. It's like, this is not a both sides situation. Bro, matter of fact, we're going to show y'all. Y'all know what AOC said? We're going to pull up AOC's tweet. Man. Alexandria Zionist Cortez. I'm not gonna spend too much more time on this. I'm gonna get to that stuff too. But like this, I was telling myself, like, yo, I know you want to go off, but like, you can't spend too much time. You got other stuff to talk about. But bro, this shit, I just don't understand. Look at, like, this is AOC, y'all. Statement. Representative Ocasio-Cortez on the violence in Israel. Washington, D.C. today, which is this was yesterday. Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez released a statement on the violence in Israel. Today is devastating for all those seeking a lasting peace and respect for human rights in Israel and Palestine. Once again, human rights she wasn't interested in last week. But I digress. I condemn Hamas attacks in the strongest possible terms. No child and family should ever have to endure the kind of violence and fear and this kind of violence and fear. And this violence will not solve the ongoing oppression and occupation of the region. An immediate ceasefire and de-escalation is urgently needed to save lives. What? Okay, so my question is, you say that these attacks do nothing to solve the ongoing oppression. Okay, what else? Like, what has doing nothing? Has allowing the oppression to continue and persist? What, like, who has ever liberated themselves from oppressors by not resisting the oppressors? Please explain this to me, people. How does that work? In what fucking world does that work? What does AOC want from them? What does she want them to do? How does she want them to go for? Because if you're going to say this does defending yourself militarily against the military might of Israel is not the way to free yourself of the oppression, then how do you expect them to free themselves of oppression? I would love to hear it. And I want to know, why is it that y'all always got something to say about peace whenever the oppressed get tired of being peaceful? Once this separate of Palestine, how many times has Israel just decided literally, and Sarah, if y'all follow her on Twitter, she's back, by the way. Sarah on Twitter talks about this, and Richie too, Richard Merhouse. Bro, I don't know how many times Israel literally just wakes up in the morning just like, yeah, we're about to bomb the shit out of Syria today. And not a damn word from nobody. None of these progressive, these leftist politicians. Not a damn word. But y'all about, like, if you're gonna tell me, you know, my mom once, I'm gonna tell y'all a story before we go to this, before I talk about this next one. Just another example of just reality, you know, unprovoked. We're gonna talk about that. But y'all know, one time in school, somebody was messing with me, and I think it was over some dumb shit. I think it was over a girl that I didn't even like, but she liked me, and the guy was upset. And normally, once upon a time, before I was in debate, I really enjoyed it. You know, I actually had something to lose. Before that, I wouldn't even waste any time. I'm like, I'm not going to wait for you. I'm going to go find you. That's just the type of person I was, because that's the type of neighborhood I grew up in. If you're from Fayetteville, you get it. And I'm from Strickland Bridge. So this is just life. But I talked to my mom. I said, Mom, this dude won't leave me alone. I'm trying to ignore him, like you said. I'm trying to avoid it, like you said. And she said, well, you're doing the right thing. I will go talk to the principal or the assistant principal to make sure that he knows that you did your part and that you were trying your best to avoid conflict. So she did. And I was I'm like, look, in Norton, you know, talking to the assistant principal in high school for me basically was like talking to the feds. I don't do it. I hated it. But I was trying to protect what I had. I was trying to do the right thing. You know, I was my mom, she was trying to do what was in my best interest, but my mom was both siding an issue where somebody was messing with me. But she's like, I just want peace, and I don't want your life to be negatively affected by someone else trying to disrupt that peace. And I understood it. And guess what happened? He continued. After the assistant principal said he would do something about it, he approached me again. Not even, I think it was the same damn day. So guess what I did? I said, you know what? I said, all right, bro. Bet. And he's like, oh, you gonna walk away? You gonna walk away? I said, bet. Everybody's like, what the hell? Because like I said, normally, first of all, it wouldn't even have gotten to that point in the past. I would have just handed it whenever initially. But I said, bet. So after school, I called my best friend from my neighborhood, and my brother and I, my brother and my friend, walked our asses about 2 or 3 miles down the road, and I fucked him up in front of everybody. I beat his ass. I didn't just beat his ass like, oh, I need to prove that I can fight you. No, I beat his ass because I needed, and I was talking to him. I said, you kept trying to disrupt my peace. I kept trying to avoid this. I got my mother involved. The principal told you what would happen. And you saw, despite every single attempt for me to avoid peace, you thought that because I had something to lose, that you didn't have to face consequences. So then, obviously, I mean, it was I beat his ass. So everybody at school knew the next day, and it was like 8:30, damn near, like basically as soon as school started, the principal's calling me into the office. She said, Niko. I was like, yes, ma'am. Did you get into a fight yesterday? I'm like, goddamn, like, how do you even figure this? But whatever. This is MySpace. News travel faster in the MySpace days. I said, yeah, I did. She said, why? I said, because even after that conversation, you said that y'all were going to talk to him. Y'all said y'all were going to handle it. You didn't handle it. And if I fought in school, even if it's in self-defense, the policy back then was it doesn't matter if it's self-defense. If you fight in school, you're suspended. If I'm suspended, I'm kicked off the debate team. Amongst other things, but I'm kicked off the debate team. I would have been suspended from sport. Like, so I said, you didn't handle it. You didn't take care of the bully. You didn't do your part. The bully would not relinquish, and therefore I took it into my own hands. And my mom, like they tried to suspend me, right? Because they were like, well, you shouldn't have. Then my mom came to the school. She said, why are you trying to suspend my son? Well, because he fought. She was like, well, he fought outside of school. They were like, well, he can't fight at all. Well, first of all, what? Second, like, you know what I'm saying? Like, what? That's not the rules, actually. But also, my mom came in there and damn near set it off because she was like, y'all told my son that y'all were going to handle the situation. Y'all told me you were going to handle the situation. My son literally did something he never does, which is he went to the principals. I went to my teacher, went to the principal, went to my mom to de-escalate, where before I would have just reacted. I did everything right. Do you think the bully gave a fuck if I did everything right? No, because he is a bully. And bullies do not stop bullying until they get punched in the fucking mouth. And my mom went down the list. Like, she went down the list of everything, every single step that I took. She said, I told my son that if he does everything right, then this shouldn't be an issue. And yet, here we are in the office, and y'all are making it an issue because y'all didn't keep up with your end. And my son did what he did to protect himself. Because he knew she knew everybody, if I fought in school, because he was provoking, he kept testing me in school because he knew I had something to lose. And that is my point. A bully will continue to bully until you bully them the fuck back. You think I went to go fight him because I don't like peace? I went to go beat his ass because I love peace. I love my peace. I thoroughly enjoy my peace in school, in class. I love my peace, and I'm willing to beat your ass to protect my peace. And that is just reality. My brother, whenever we go out, and he's had, man, there's been several times, unfortunately, where my brothers had to knock somebody out, and everybody's like always surprised because they're like, what the hell? Like, what happened? He said, bro, I don't like to feel nervous. I'm not about to wait for, if I see somebody doing, like, acting aggressively towards me, if somebody's raising their voices, I'm not going to wait. Well, I love my peace, and I'm not going to let you disrupt it. And people laugh, but he's dead serious, and I'm the exact same way. That is what's happening in Palestine. People who love their peace to the point where they even, hey, look, I'm going to chill over here. Just don't bulldoze my house, please. Yeah, we're going to bulldoze it anyway. Well, just don't cut off my water, please. Yeah, we're cutting that shit off anyway. Well, just don't cut off my electricity. We're going to do that anyway. Well, you know, we're going to protest, but just don't kill us. Like, can we protest in peace? Nope, we're gonna shoot y'all. Well, can we cover the stories in peace? No, we're gonna kill the journalists. Well, what if an American comes to protest? They're gonna kill them too. Well, then fuck it. We gotta do what we gotta do. Oh no, we're the victims. This attack is unprovoked. It's like, nah, I tried to not attacking y'all. Remember, we tried the peaceful thing. We tried letting y'all but y'all kept. Why? Because you wanted this reaction. Because at the end of the day, you wanted a reason to do it. How many times? I mean, you see this in sitcoms and shows and movies and TV. How many times you see the bully tries to instigate the person who's being bullied just so they can react, so that when the bully ultimately fights him, he can be like, well, you shouldn't have reacted to me bullying you. It is the same shit. It is not that complicated. There is not both sides. There are innocent lives being lost on both sides, but this is not a both sides issue. Once again, the innocent lives, the blood, is on the hands of Israel and the U.S. for giving them the weapons and the money and the green light to do what the hell they want to without consequence from the international community. Unprovoked. Israel demands correction from Sanders. It killed only 532 Palestinian children in the summer of 2014. Unprovoked. Look at where Israel started. Or Palestine started, rather. And look at what ended up. And this is just 2008. Unprovoked. Cops accused of beating Palestinian detainee, branding him with the Star of David. And this is covering in the times of Israel. Unprovoked, though. 42 knees in one day. Israeli snipers opened up about shooting Gaza protesters. Unprovoked. Unprovoked. The word unprovoked clearly has definitions that I have never heard of. Like, is there I know English language can be a little bit complicated and some words can mean two or three different things, right? Apparently unprovoked means like without a catalyst and also with every single catalyst. Without reason and with every single reason. Apparently, they have it has a definition and then a totally opposite definition, at least in the eyes of Zionists. And I want to say this before we change topics. I want to make it very clear about my conservative friends. Y'all know I have no problem agreeing with y'all where we agree, and I have no problem, and I don't judge y'all when we disagree. But I need y'all to understand this. Y'all are siding with Joe Biden. Y'all are siding with Tony Blinken. And a lot of my populist conservative friends who hate people like Nikki Haley, that's who you're siding with, bro. The same people who support the giving money to neo-Nazis in Ukraine, y'all are siding with them. I see y'all in the comments talking about you're not really supporting Israel. No. Y'all don't get to disassociate yourselves with Joe Biden now. He has always been a Zionist. That has always been the case. He has always given money to Israel. He has always defended the apartheid state of Israel. Don't you're just pretending like it. He's always been that. Don't try to disassociate now because you don't want to admit that you think that he's trying to keep up with y'all. No, it's just the reality is he has always been this, and y'all have always shared this policy position. Always. Y'all don't want to admit it. It's the same shit whenever I talk about Democrats, and I'm like, you gonna call out? Okay, my leftist friends want to call out Marjorie Taylor Greene. A lot of the times, rightfully so, right? But then I'm like, AOC is like doing shit like what I just read. She's being a Zionist shill. She's sending money to neo-Nazis. She's doing. I'm like, they're like, oh no, don't. I'm like, no, this is y'all. This is your girl. This is who she is. Don't pretend like she's somebody else now, because you realize y'all share the same policy positions, and not in a good way. The leftists who were at the beginning, like the Russiagate situation, y'all, the same leftists who were screaming Hillary's Hillary is a liar. She lies about everything. I mean, bro. I mean, if I've ever met a person who literally lies about everything that comes out of her mouth, except for the words "I am Hillary Clinton," and even that might be a lie, but everything else is like a dead ass lie, and they all know it. But they'll sit here and tell you Russiagate was real. They'll sit here and tell you that Assad was bombing his own people. Why? Because Hillary said it. Every now and then, somebody that you diametrically oppose might say one thing correct. And when they do, I sometimes got to go back and do my research. I'm like, oh shit, okay. Well, let me make sure I'm on the right side, because this just could be a one-off situation. Because there are situations where there is what, and like Marjorie Taylor Greene getting Ukraine right is a one-off situation for her. But I know that she just happens to be right on this issue because I do my research, but also I see Fox News and CNN and MSNBC all agree on funding Ukraine, generally speaking. So, oh shit, Marjorie Taylor Greene actually got something right. Cool. But I'm not going to pretend, there's some people like, oh, you're just faking it, because no, she's probably she genuinely, I do believe she just doesn't want to support that particular war for some reason. She's right. It is a waste of money. She's right. It is killing the economy. She's right about those things. But I'm not going to pretend like she isn't somebody she isn't, just so I can not for example, I'm trying to find another example with Joe Biden, because they do this a lot with immigration crisis. Joe Biden isn't putting enough money. Boy, Joe Biden has put more money into the damn border than Trump and Obama. He spent like $6 or $7 billion more. There's more kids in cages. The thing is, though, he's also sanctioning Central and South America, causing more turmoil in Central and South America and the Caribbean. He's more than Obama and Trump did. And so you're having more immigration. But he is spending the money. That's why I tweeted the other day. I said, I know my conservative friends got to be confused as hell right now, because that wall is getting built right now. The wall that y'all said you don't need it, he's doing it. So you're going to get mad because he did lecture Trump about that wall like he was against it. And obviously it's happening. Right? So do you get mad because he took Trump's idea, even though the wall idea isn't actually Trump's idea, but that's what he was known for, and Biden criticized him for it. But in the vacuum, I'm like, so do y'all celebrate it? Because he's actually, y'all saying that he's weak on the border by your standards. He's not spending enough money. He's not investing enough. He's not hiring enough ICE agents. But that's a lie. He is. He's spending more. Y'all saying that he's not giving money to cops in these big cities, like New York, like California, LA, or in San Francisco. No, that's not true. He's giving more money to cops than ever before. He is on your side on these issues. The problem is I mean, just as an aside, the economy is shit. And when the economy is shit and the country is shit and people don't have opportunity and they don't have a way out, guess what happens? Shit pops off. That's what happens when people don't like the country is suffering. Trust me, I'm sure if Biden would give his whole paycheck every single month to the police if he could. That's who Biden is. You can't talk about this because people they like to bring up the 94 crime bill because I mean obviously it was horrible, but like you can't be a conservative bring up the 94 crime bill talking about how racist he is and how racist the bill was, specifically because of how it treated black people in regards to private prisons and the police force. And then fast forward, he's doing the same shit, and y'all mean like, nah, man, he's not spending money on police. All his policies aren't racist. He's helping all these. What? That don't make no sense. That means you need to rethink the stance that you support. Because if I was supporting the same stance as Anthony Blinken, Joe Biden, Nikki Haley, damn near everybody on Fox News, damn near everybody on CNN, damn near everybody on MSNBC, Netanyahu, at this point, AOC, all people that independent-minded leftists and independent-minded conservatives usually rail against, I would then have to step back and be like, common sense dictates that maybe I might be wrong in this issue. Common sense, maybe I might not get, maybe like, shit, I thought because my whole life, this is what I've been told. This is what I believed in. Instead of just taking a step back, but what a lot of y'all don't want to realize, what a lot of y'all don't want to admit is that your support or lack thereof for certain policies and your belief about who is supporting what and why they're supporting it is entrenched in xenophobia. A lot y'all don't want to have that conversation though. Y'all were so quick to believe that killing millions of Afghanistan civilians, bro, innocent, not the bad guys, it was okay and necessary as long as we get the bad guy. What the fuck? Imagine if, once again, Iran walked up in the U.S., started just going crazy, killing innocent people, saying, as long as we get the president, hell, I'll be damned. Why? Because you value the people, the lives of the U.S. citizens more. Imagine if, I don't know, for example, Palestinians decide to go up into Israel and go up in Tel Aviv and set that bitch off just to get to Netanyahu. Oh, it's not justified no more? All those innocent lives, what is the difference in the weight of the lies? Please explain that to me. Because clearly the qualifier of them being innocent is not the weighted difference. So what is the difference between innocent lives lost in Israel in defense of Palestine and the innocent lives taken in Iraq and Afghanistan? Please break it down for me, because I need to know. Y'all, if y'all in the comment section and you're like, explain to me, because people are so easily convinced that those innocent lives were okay to lose, but the 600 in Israel over the last week, those aren't okay. So what's the difference? Oh, is it because one of them, one group happens to be mostly Muslim? Is that why? I mean, because remember what the excuse used to always be? Oh, there's always drama in the Middle East. They were gonna kill themselves anyway. Blah, 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 blah. Like that is always the same thing in Africa, right? There's always, no, it's not all, it's because of the West. Like, if you are going to be true to your, like, just be true to yourself, because I know some people, like, it's just there. We've all been subject to propaganda, bro. And a lot of y'all have certain circles of friends and people in your lives that hold certain beliefs, and you don't want to alienate yourself. by being commonsensical and ideologically consistent. But some of you all have to really just look in the mirror and say, why the hell? Why don't I care about the fact that literally this country decided to just throw itself in the middle of another country? While being like, I criticize the funding of U.S. wars and every other situation. I criticize the funding of the U.S. funding Saudi Arabia. Why are you okay? Like, y'all got everything to say about the U.S. funding Saudi Arabia. I got problems with it too. I'm very clear about that. But why is that? Why do y'all have a problem with it? What's the difference? I want to know, what is it? Why do y'all have a problem with the U.S. funding Saudi Arabia, but you don't have a problem with the U.S. funding Israel? Please explain that to me. Because Saudi Arabia is Muslim? Maybe. Because you believe inherently one group of people is righteous and civilized and the other group is not. Because of what you read on social media, because of what you've been fed by propagandists in the mainstream media, because of what you've been fed by your own family and friends, because of what you've been fed in your schools. You want to talk about, and everyone wants to talk about the indoctrination of liberal universities. Y'all think that indoctrination shit started the last 4 or 5 years because they now disagree with you? You were being indoctrinated before you disagreed with the indoctrination. The indoctrination didn't start when you started disagreeing with whatever the fuck you were being propagandized with. The indoctrination didn't start when Charlie Kirk started complaining about liberal universities. It started whenever you were 5 years old, being told to recite the Pledge of fucking Allegiance to a flag, which is creepy, by the way. The indoctrination started whenever we were getting excited as hell because we got Columbus Day off. Like, what the fuck? The indoctrination started when we're making little pilgrim paper art and doing a little hand turkey and the Native American paper art, and we got them sitting together like they were best friends. That's when your indoctrination started. Whenever the indoctrination started, whenever I ask any goddamn body anywhere in the U.S. who has gone through middle school and high school, what started the World War I? Everybody knows what started World War II. What started World War I? And like the world's favorite lyric to their favorite song, what does everyone say without question? The assassination of Archduke Franz Ferdinand, like a robot. Their indoctrination started because we were just told Hitler just rose to power, and it just happened, man. We don't know how it happened. It just happened out of nowhere. But they didn't mention the fact that GE was funding Hitler, that Ford was funding Hitler, that GM was funding Hitler, and that the U.S. government let it happen. Your indoctrination started then. Where you were being told in the 90s that Gaddafi has to go because he was defending his own people. Y'all, you know about the European Union, but you didn't even fucking know there's an African Union. But you want to talk about indoctrination in universities starting what, 2015, 2016? The only difference in the indoctrination now versus then is that y'all disagree with it now. Because it's just a different, it's propaganda, it's just propaganda from the other side. From a different angle. You don't get to pretend like propaganda started when you started disagreeing with it. And then pretend like you were ideologically consistent. Sorry. And pretend like you're smarter than everybody else and that you're righteous. No, motherfucker. You can't be. You can't possibly understand the reality of the political climate and international relations and what's really going on. Everybody's talking about escaping the matrix and da da da. No, I mean, with all due respect, you're fucking stupid. If you think that the people, those liberal universities indoctrinated, bro, you're dumb. You're dumb if you think it started 5-6 years ago. You're an idiot. You couldn't even take classes to figure out what was going on in Cuba at most universities. Literally, you couldn't take classes to figure that out. Why? Because what is an embargo? And it wasn't just an embargo of money or food or commodities. It was an embargo of information, because then you might find out that Cuba was desegregated before the U.S. was, because Fidel Castro. That Cuba was being ran by gangs in the U.S. empire before Fidel Castro. And the U.S. was still segregated. Cuba was desegregated before the United States was. But you wouldn't know that, like, because unless, I mean, it would have been very, very difficult for you to figure that out 15, 20 years ago without being at a very specific university, at a very specific professor who didn't care about backlash. Because Cuba is one of those both sides issues, and everybody has to hate communism. And The indoctrination started before you started disagreeing with it, bro. And that's reality. Nick, what's going on, man? I see you in the chat. Oh, you got Fiorella. Ooh, Fiorella coming on tomorrow? Word. I'm about to switch this damn topic before I keep, because y'all gonna have me. I can talk about this Israel damn day, bro. Oh, dog, it just made me so damn mad. This is why I don't talk. This is why I try to, like, I talk about it on Twitter. I do short bit, but it's when I get started about this conflict, I get so irritated with the stupidity. Like, it's just stupid. How can you just fall for the propaganda? Like, you was just getting it right last week on this issue, but the moment that this issue comes up, it's like your brain breaks. Lord, baby Jesus. Whew. Anyway, man, y'all hear about the situation? Yeah. Sorry, y'all. Sorry. Oh, thanks for the tip on Rockfin, by the way. Karam said most people don't realize that the puppet masters of the apartheid South Africa regime and the Zionists are the same. That's true, 100%. The British are responsible for the creation of Israel, looting of Africa, destabilization of India, creation of Pakistan, controlling most of the world's offshore banking havens. London and Wall Street funded Nazis, and the list goes on. This is a fact, bro. And these are facts that you can find now. It would have been difficult to find them before, but you can find them now. You can find the lawsuit where GM and GE and Ford literally sued the U.S. government for bombing their Nazi subsidiaries. Like, man, y'all knew we had them over there. Why y'all bomb them for? And they won. They won the lawsuit. They won the lawsuit against the U.S. government for bombing their Nazi subsidiaries. This stuff is, you can find this stuff now. But you didn't know it before. Why? Because indoctrination started long before you started disagreeing with it. So I want to talk about the situation with Max and Ben. So in case, let me see, let me pull it up for you. In case you didn't know, Max Blumenthal from the Grayzone and Ben Norton, formerly of the Grayzone, had a little falling out, right? And I wasn't going to talk about it at first because I didn't think, I'm like, I don't know if there's any really like importance to it in regards to how you should perceive the coverage of Ben or whatever. But then I thought back, nah, actually, that's that bullshit. That is the bullshit. I can't allow that type of behavior to stand. I'm gonna read what Max said. Some of y'all may have heard, but we're gonna talk about it. He says, enough silence. The criminal schemes of Ben bait and switch Norton must be known. In January in January 2022, Ben lied to the public about the circumstances of his departure from the Grayzone, creating the false impression that he left voluntarily in protest of our critical coverage of the mass surveillance, repression, and impunity imposed on citizens across the world under the guise of pandemic control. In fact, I fired Ben for publicly attacking his colleagues, which he did. And I remember the thing, I remember sending damn tweets to Max about this whole situation. This situation is more than just a 2023 situation, y'all. This is like from 2021. And I'm like, yo, why the hell has Ben attacking you? I mean, I know y'all disagree on this particular issue, but like, I thought y'all worked for the same thing. And he was like, I know. So, and yet Max was very, very dedicated to maintaining the peace. That's why y'all not hearing about it until 2023, right? He said he fired Ben for publicly attacking his colleagues, and particularly him, Max, over our opposition to perpetual lockdowns and jab mandates. He thus violated an employment contract he signed, which explicitly forbade the Grayzone contractors from attacking one another in public, which is pretty common, like, practice. This behavior followed a string of bizarre ethical breaches and came during a lengthy period in which Ben refused to work or communicate with him, but obviously was still getting paid. Now, I want to be clear about something. Ben attacked Max in public on Twitter multiple times. And I don't think Max says that in here. But I know, because I'm reading the tweets, sending them to Matt, like, yo, what the fuck going on? Like, why is this? Why? Me and my team talking about it, like, this is wild. Like, how the hell are you just going to attack his home? We used to have a motto at MCSC. Family business stays in the family. You don't air out family drama in public. If there has ever been an argument or a fight or a disagreement, not a disagreement, outside of like politics, y'all don't know. Y'all never know. It's not y'all business. If we disagree about something politically, we will go on. Y'all watched the Convo Couch. Y'all seen when they sit down and Fiorella has her opinion and it's strong, and Pasta has his opinion and it's strong. Do you see Fiorella and Pasta then go to Twitter and start personally attacking each other? Or if Fiorella disagrees with me on a rare occasion, did you see Fiorella jump on Twitter and just start attacking me? I endorsed Tulsi. Pasta didn't endorse anybody at that time. Fiorella had endorsed Bernie Sanders. She had her criticism of Tulsi. And Bernie, to be fair. I had my criticisms of Bernie. Pasta had his criticisms in support of both. Did you see us personally attack each other for having differences of opinion? No. And the first time that Ben did this, that was grounds for firing. And yet Max did not fire him the first time it happened, or the second time, or the fucking third time. And this is why Ben was stealing from him. So let's continue. After being fired, Ben unilaterally seized control of numerous social media accounts belonging to the Grayzone. He also if we're going to talk about social media accounts, now most of those social media accounts can be or could be monetized, even Twitter. So now it's like, retroactively speaking, that's a big ass deal. He sees the YouTube and Patreon accounts dedicated to our shared Moderate Rebels podcast. Ben then initiated a shocking bait and switch scheme, attempting to reappropriate these accounts to establish a new outlet, Multipolarista, which was exclusively under his control. That outlet was rebranded this January as the Geopolitics and Economy Report. In doing so, he deceived the public, stole intellectual property belonging to the organization which had employed him for over 3 years, defrauded supporters of Moderate Rebels, and violated written agreements with him to share earnings of the podcast. According to the original written agreement to split the earnings from moderate rebels, Ben and I, Max, received approximately $3,000 per month. Since absconding, I've never, man, Max, bro, you gotta use words that like I can say when I'm trying to defend you, bro. I've never even seen that word in my life. That's very, very elitist of you, but I'm gonna continue. With our podcast Patreon account in January 2022, I estimate that Ben has received $70,000 that Max would have been entitled to. So that's 70,000 more, y'all. I just want y'all to understand that. So Ben got 70,000 while not doing the work for their shared podcast, and he also got Max's 70,000. While Max is running, like Max runs the Grayzone. Ben was working for him. So, and this is just for the moderate rebel stuff. But they weren't, as you all probably noticed, they weren't doing it anymore. So Ben was collecting on something that he wasn't doing anymore and taking Max's money. I was only able to reestablish control of the Grayzone social media properties by delivering Ben a cease and desist letter, screenshots below, through a legal advocate, and threatening him with a lawsuit if he did not enter into a process of negotiating a fair and equitable separation agreement. And then I would say, if Ben was in the right and he felt he was in the right, why, whenever you get a cease and desist letter, did you cease and desist? Because I'm only ceasing and desisting something that I am doing illegally. Otherwise, I just tell you to kiss my ass. I'm in the right. Okay. Ben was so determined to avoid legal and public accountability for his actions, and I was so averse to public drama, that we began a mediation process. This ultimately resulted in him agreeing to relinquish the control of all social media accounts except for the Patreon belonging to moderate rebels. Following the conclusion of the moderation process, Ben deployed yet another cynical deception, suggesting a final message to YouTube subscribers of moderate rebels that he had somehow been censored. Now, Ben, now we know everybody who's been censored over the last couple of years, outside of talking about the war in Ukraine, were usually censored because of their beliefs about the pandemic. You know, we ain't gonna get into that because I don't want to get kicked off YouTube. And Ben was firmly on the side of the Faucis of the world. So if he was censored, you would be alleging that it would be Max who was censoring him, when in fact Max was reaching out to him to work, and he was not doing his job. So that's a lie. He lied to the people who paid him $70,000. Jesus Christ. He therefore violated our agreement. Oh, excuse me. In fact, he signed an agreement to relinquish control of that account where he had apparently been profiting from our labor by taking 100% of our ad revenue. He therefore violated our agreement, another broken contract amid a string of criminal schemes. When I terminated Ben's position at the Grayzone, I emphasized to him that if he had been so indignant, hadn't been, I'm assuming, about his colleagues' views on the pandemic, he could have resigned on respectful terms and retained our support for future ventures. I never once demanded that he take my line on the issue as a condition for collaborating with me. I also reminded him how I found him work at Alternate after he was let go by Salon.com, then arranged another job for him after our positions ended there. And I recalled how I arranged legal support for Ben after we were hit with malicious slap suit relating to his work. Thanks to the Grayzone support, Ben was able to travel to political flashpoints to report from the ground. He was treated fairly and granted total editorial freedom. He was even able to buy property in Nicaragua. So, why are we talking about this? Y'all make sure to like, share this video. Why are we talking about this? Why is this important? Because I want people to know that I don't give up. Like, Ben has in the past done great work. I don't give a fuck because you are a thief. You are someone who took the goodwill of an individual. You use that individual. You stole money from the labor of that individual. live the life that you want to live. Then you start an agreement. Then you decided to leave again. Like you violated the agreement and then you ran off to China, where he obviously, Max cannot sue him from there. And people coming at Max and Anya saying, why are you, this is infighting. This is not infighting. That's not infighting, bro. Like, y'all have to, people need to learn how to separate like morality and ethics. And, oh, I might disagree with somebody, or I might agree or disagree with somebody politically, and like we're just having a that's not, those are two different conversations, bro. And we keep having this conversation over and over and over again. People, whenever me and Tim Black had our issues, not that that's evolved, we still have it, but he stole from a friend of mine that I introduced him to, a friend that I'm close with. He lied on my name after I embraced him and I looked up to him as a mentor. And then he went and tried to pretend like he was the victim. And he got subscribers from, maybe, I don't know. Maybe he got subscribers from that potentially. Maybe he got Patreon subscribers. But I do know this, at one point, he was profiting off of my goodwill and the goodwill of my friend. Our family's vacationing together. And he was basically stealing from my friend and taking advantage of my friend. That tells me, damn, that what you might say on camera while the lights are on every now and then, that tells me at the very, you cannot be trusted as an individual. I'm not going to listen to shit you got to say, nor am I going to allow for you to continue to mislead others in a way that you can profit from. Because what you have told me is that you will say what you have to in order to get $1. You will say what you have to in order to get by. You will steal from who you want to, including your own audience. You will smear and attack those who are doing righteous work if they could potentially expose you. You will take advantage of those who will do nice for you. And that is a public danger. That is a problem. And people like Tim Black, or in this particular case, Ben Norton, or even Jackson Hinkle, for those of you who don't know, a lot of people uplifted him, and then he went and turned around and started calling people Nazis for having conservative friends and trying to smear people while literally stealing all their talking points. All the shit that he was like all the stuff that the stuff that he gets right now, he was attacking people for getting right before. Meanwhile, the only reason that Jimmy invited him on his show is because I called Jimmy Dore to make sure Jackson got credit for his work during Forced to Vote. That's how that whole thing got started. That's how the fuck y'all know who Jackson is. So people are like, oh, why don't you do? Like, bro, because people will lie and put on a persona to steal. And you might agree with them sometimes, but the rest of the time they're getting you. I'll put it like this. If Ben Norton was black and this story came out about him, how would people be reacting? You think people would jump to his defense like this? Oh, it was good journalists on both sides. No. Hell no. Ain't no way, bro. Ain't no goddamn. No. There is no possible. You cannot be these people will turn on the lights and act all righteous and holy and self-indignant and self-important and will be a thief in the night. And they take advantage of people like Max who don't like drama. They don't want to hurt the movement. That's why he didn't. People say, oh, he just wants attention. Max don't need no, trust me. This is Max fucking Blumenthal, bro. Max don't need no damn attention from nobody. He got plenty of it. He's good. He's all right. But he watched he was watching Ben steal from his supporters, bro. What if y'all want? So y'all wanted. So there are people out there who wanted Max to let Ben continue to steal from those who trust and supported Max and his work. When the last time y'all seen Max engage in any drama, bro? In any drama whatsoever. Y'all, bro, there's so much shit that me and Max are friends. So I want to be clear about that. We're friends, but he has dealt with so much shit, and Anya has dealt with so much shit that y'all will never know about. You know why? Because Max don't want to get y'all involved in drama. He tried to keep it focused on the reporting, on the news, on the movement. Max generally tries to be a unity builder. There is so much shit that Max could have gone public about, so much drama that he has to deal with on a regular basis that none of y'all, because he doesn't like the drama. But there are people both sides, and it's like, oh, why are you acting like this? Because he's stealing from the people who trust me. He's stealing from people who are spending their hard-earned money for my reporting, or reporting they thought they were supposed to be getting from both Max and Ben, and Ben was not fulfilling his obligations. Max was not reporting on that channel anymore, obviously. And people are still giving, at that point, we're still giving money to the channel. Y'all just wanted Max to let people, let Ben keep stealing money. But Ben does good work. Fuck his work. What are you talking about? What are you talking about? At that point, I don't care about your work. You're a thief. With the amount of evidence that Max has put out there, the agreements, the contracts, it's not like that. With that level of evidence, bro, if it was somebody like me or Nick or Jay or Seth from RB, if it was somebody bro, we would be done. Jesus Christ. There would be no recovery from that. But because of the access that Max and the Grayzone got to him, has done some decent work and got some stuff right, we just supposed to forget he's a thief? And I'm gonna tell you, do y'all really want to know? People say, oh, this is a vendetta against Ben because of hurt feelings and disagreements. Bro, y'all do know Max and Aaron Mate, who have a show together right now. They do Grayzone together on YouTube right now. Y'all do know they were on totally opposite sides of the pandemic, right? Aaron was on the side of Ben during the pandemic. You know what the difference is? Aaron didn't constantly attack Max. Max and Aaron still work together on the issues that they agreed on, like fucking normal people, like coworkers do. Max and Aaron are doing a show together. They still do a show together. Ben attacked Max, maybe because he always had intentions on trying to find an excuse to do what he's doing right now. So he just worked backwards from the conclusion of a decision or action that he had already decided on. Maybe he was always planning on stealing once he realized how successful it was. I don't know. I can't tell you that, but I do know that I watched this. Aaron and Ben were on the same side of the argument, which was the opposite of Max. Max and Aaron are still doing shows together. Max and Aaron, whatever conversation they might have had behind the scenes, never attacked each other out in public. And Aaron didn't steal a shitload of money from him and then run off. He didn't steal so people saying oh, this is just him being salty because of a disagreement between him and Ben. No, this was not a disagreement. This is somebody stealing. Bro, I can't even say what I want to say on camera, because if you would steal $70,000 from me, it would have never made the Twitter. I'm put like that. You might not ever tweet again. You steal $70,000 from me. You might not ever tweet again. Max handled it in the best way that he possibly could. But you really, if that was damn near it, if that was me, If that was the average person from the street, you either have one or two out, different types of people handle the situation differently. You're gonna have one or two outcomes. They're gonna sue you for the 70,000 plus the money that you stole from the accounts, plus the potential damage, like the potential money you could have earned, they could have earned if they had access to the accounts, plus obviously legal fees and services. And or so there's that, but there's also you might not ever tweet again. You got that $70,000, but you ain't got nothing else for the rest of your life or like thereof. That is how that could have been handled, and it was not handled that way. Max handled it in the best possible way he could, and Ben took advantage of even that by running off and bailing on their agreement. Again, it is important for us to realize, like, we can't call stuff like that infighting, bro. When someone literally presents to you all the evidence, like, yo, this person is a thief, we don't get to then pretend like they're not a thief because you agree with some of the stuff they write. Like, Jackson Hinkle is a piece of shit. Just because I agree, okay, he's right on Ukraine, that does not change he's still a piece of shit. Like, that's just how it is. Ben is a thief and a piece of shit for what he did. Because I know what it's like, personally, I know what it's like to help people, to invest in somebody, to bring somebody up, and then for them to literally screw you over. And you sit and you don't say anything about it. Why? Because you try to put the movement first and the drama behind you. Like, there's so much shit about certain individuals that I never talk about it on camera. I never talk about it on the hot mic. I never talk, like, because I'm like, it's not really going to help. If it gets to a point where it could damage the movement, if it gets to a point where now you're constantly, in this particular case, right? It gets to a point where now Ben is not stealing from just Max. Ben is stealing from the supporters of Max in the Grayzone. That is an entirely different thing. And telling people that he left because Max is right wing. Like, what? That's different. That is different. Disagreeing politically, I know it, like, you know what infighting is? Infighting is like what we saw with Cornel West and Jimmy Dore. I would call that infighting. I think they both have good character. I think they both want to be on the right side of history and usually are. They both make mistakes. And they were people fighting not because of their character, but because of their approach to politics on these particular issues in this very specific political context. That is infighting. But when someone literally steals money, I don't know what do you say about that? That's not even politics anymore. Eddie X said, I've never heard Jackson call you anything on camera. Actually, Jackson called me a Nazi, and I wouldn't have even known until a bunch of people sent me the DM, or excuse me, sent me the stream of him, because somebody asked out of like, just like, hey, like, they either mentioned my stream or mentioned my name or asked him why he didn't talk to me about it. And he said, because I was friends with conservatives, mind you, this is like 2 or 3 weeks before he started a show with the conservative. He said that I was a Nazi. And as a black man, okay, as a black man, coming from a white boy, I take that a little personal. And I made sure to write him a DM and let him know if he ever mentions my name again or calls me a Nazi again, the next time I see him, I will slap the shit out of him. You don't know, because this you know, you don't know about it because I don't talk about it, because I was like, whatever. It is what it is. He's not stealing from my supporters. Like, he's not robbing me of anything. What he did say that I believe was an approachable offense, I approached him about it and I left it there. And somebody asked me about him, I'm like, nah, I don't fuck with him. He's a bitch. Like, and I leave it at that. But you didn't know about it because I didn't talk about it. It's like you didn't know that Ben was getting robbed, or excuse me, that Ben was robbing Max because he didn't talk about it. Just because you didn't know, that's what y'all have to understand about this indie media ecosystem. Before we move on, the thing that y'all have to know about this indie media ecosystem is that there's so much drama that y'all don't ever hear about that goes on behind the scenes. And y'all don't hear about it because there are so many people that are so dedicated to maintaining the peace for the sake of the movement that we don't say shit about it. Because we don't want y'all to have to get into these because if somebody is doing good work, but we have a disagreement, like they mostly do good work. They're not necessarily stealing from anybody. They're not hurting anybody yet. They haven't, physically harmed anybody yet. But the moment that somebody crosses that threshold, and unfortunately, sometimes you don't even hear about it till later. But the moment somebody crosses that threshold, then somebody like me, I'm like, well, no, I have a responsibility to talk about it because now there's somebody who could be harmed. There's somebody who could be defrauded. There are funds that can be misappropriated. There are people who could be led astray to a point where it's harmful or damaging. You get what I'm saying? There's a difference between infighting and being a thief, being a sex pest, which we've seen in the past. Like being somebody who pretends like they're multi or pretends to be intersectional on behind the scenes, and you don't like because they're the ones who experience it, like myself. We don't bring it up until it's time to bring it up. And there's a lot of situations like that y'all never hear about. So, it's not a matter of standing with Max or standing with Ben. I stand with the truth. Max is my friend, but if he was wrong, I would tell him. But what I will not pretend is that Ben stealing from Max is, once again, it's like Israel and Palestine. Like, I'm not about to call something a both sides issue when it's not a both sides fucking issue. Don't steal. If you're like Max said, bro, he's like, if you wanted to leave, we could have just left on amicable terms. Like, we could, hey man, I don't agree with what the direction of the Grayzone right now. I appreciate everything you've done for me, but I'm moving in a different direction politically. I think you are too. Hey man, but I appreciate the good times. If you need something, let me know. Vice versa. And they could have left amicably, but the reason that did not happen is because Ben had other intentions that were malicious. It was beyond disagreements. That's fact. It was beyond disagreements. And it genuinely is sad, bro, because that jades people. Like how Graham did Jimmy, trying to call him alcoholic, like lying about him, talking about he's taking, like, bro, Graham has lied about Jimmy. He's lied about Pasta. He's lied. Graham became relevant in independent media for leftists because of Jimmy. And he burned him. I know who Ben Norton is only because of Max in the Grayzone. Like, and he burnt, like, and then once again, those are just the situations that y'all see play out. Y'all don't even know all the other times Jimmy got burned, or Max gets burned, or I've gotten burned, or Kim Iverson has gotten burned, or like y'all don't see that shit. And eventually, it makes it very hard to be as welcoming and opening to uplifting people who otherwise may not get it a voice, unless, because that's how it works, right? Like, y'all didn't know who the Combo Couch was potentially until I helped, because I saw the work that they were doing is important, and then they took off from there, and now look at where it took them. Jimmy helped Graham and Ron Placone. I don't. Max apparently, excuse me. Graham was a comedian apparently before that, but as far as politics is concerned, had no idea who the fuck he was. But because of Jimmy, he was able to go on tour, and everybody knew who he was. They supported Jimmy, so they supported Graham. And I'm not saying Graham hasn't done good work in the past, but I'm saying like there are a lot of people out there who the only thing stopping them from getting the respect that they deserve and having their voice and their work heard is a Jimmy or a Max or a Niko or a Kim or a Glenn Greenwald helping them just to give them a microphone. And it gets harder and harder to want to do that. And that hurts the movement. That hurts you guys. It gets harder and harder to want to do that when you keep getting burned for doing so. And then people keep trying to be like, man, it's just infighting. It's a both sides situation. You get what I'm saying? People call it drama. I guess like you want to call it drama. Like, I guess it's so can you imagine? Imagine your friend stole $25,000 from you, and the rest of your friends said, "Man, stop that drama, bro. Like, chill. Like, why you always trying to just let it go?" Can you imagine that in real life? Because that's what happens. Like, could you imagine your friends stealing $25,000, $10,000, $5,000, $1,000 from you, and you know for a fact that happened, but all your other auxiliary friends are like, "Man, just let it go, bro. Like, it's not even that serious." Right? That's absurd. That is obscene. Like, no, you would never allow that. And Max allowed it to go on trying to prevent drama from happening for years. Good work does not make you ethical. I've seen people pretend to be on the right side of political history. They put on a show for years, bro. I've seen it. Put on a show for years. Y'all don't know who they are, like really, as people. But I've seen them put on that show for years. And they're not ethical behind the scenes. They screw people over behind the scenes. And I know that we shouldn't talk about Jordan Sheridan like that, but there are so many examples. All right, I'm gonna talk about this. Let's talk about this Ukraine thing real quick. But moral story is, y'all, come on, man. There's no both sides in situations like that. Right? There's no both sides. It's you're a thief or you're not a thief. I feel like we've been having a lot of this both sides discussion lately. We've been having to have a lot of it, but it's good, man. You know what we're doing? We're separating reality from the algorithm. That both sides talk is algorithm. You trying to protect your algorithm clout. Damn all that. Just like the people trying to protect themselves in this people trying to both sides this Ukrainian war situation. Which we're about to talk about. Make sure you like this video. Make sure you share this video. Leaked documents reveal the U.S. and Zelensky recruiting ISIS terrorists to fight in Ukraine. Can I ask y'all something real quick? Who the hell, just before we even get started, who's surprised by that? When I read this headline, I legitimately was like, yeah, that makes sense. Like, yeah, the U.S. has always funded ISIS. The U.S. funds terrorists to overthrow and destabilize governments, and they fund Nazis, and it only makes perfect, harmonic, poetic sense for the U.S., for Ukraine to recruit ISIS. It's like going to get your homeboy, basically. You're like your homeboy's homeboy. Like y'all got beef, and then your homeboy ain't available, but you're like, man, hey, but you can call your cousin though. Yeah, man. Like I'll let him know you're gonna slide through. That's basically what this is. Ukraine president Volodymyr Zelensky is trying to recruit ISIS fighters from Iraqi and Syrian prisons to join the Ukraine armed forces and fight against Russia, according to leaked documents published in the Middle East. And y'all know what is hilarious about this? How many times do y'all go on social media from the pro-Ukraine mainstream and the NAFO folks? How many times they're like, the Russian terrorists attacks, the terrorist attacks by Russia. And then Ukraine literally goes to fucking recruit terrorists. They literally go to recruit terrorists. Well, these pro-Ukraine people are going to have to find another talking point, I guess. The move to recruit ISIS terrorists from prison cells to join the Ukrainian armed forces is fully supported by the United States and NATO to fight their proxy war against Russia, according to documents. I'm going to read the document. According to Hassan Fidel on YouTube, my name is Hassan Fidel. I'm a former employee of a Ministry of Foreign Affairs of the Republic of Iraq. I worked as a secretary there from 2019 to 2023. I discovered this note in April of this year when Ukrainian diplomats gave it to my colleagues. I'm deeply outraged by the contents of this note and would like to make it public because the fighters experienced in fighting Russians mentioned in it, the letter, are former ISIS fighters detained in prison facilities around Iraq. I resigned from the ministry and left Iraq with my family, so I don't know what our response was. Still, I don't want to see these people free, especially armed. ISIS are murderers and terrorists, and they should stay in prison for the rest of their lives. Many countries support Ukraine right now and allow it to break international laws. Still, aiding terrorists is too much and shouldn't be allowed. I am almost appalled by the American involvement in this. You shouldn't be surprised, though, if you've worked for Iraqi, government. Like, you could be appalled, but shouldn't be surprised. General McFarland mentioned in this note, General McFarland mentioned in the note is the commander of American Joint Task Force in Iraq. It is simply shocking how easily the issues of the movement of Iraqi prisoners, especially terrorists, can be resolved without the participation of representatives of our country. Devin Online reports, of course, this is not the first time that Ukraine is using ISIS terrorists or trying to do so, despite their denials. The U.S. and NATO use ISIS and branches of Al-Qaeda in Syria, Iraq, and for the special undercover operations throughout the world, which we know. U.S. involvement in recruiting ISIS for Ukraine. General McFarland mentioned in Hassan Fidel's video is a U.S. Army Major General who was heading to the Combined Joint Task Force Operation Inherent Resolve from September 22 to August 23. The CGTF-OIR is an international military coalition tasked with fighting ISIS and led by the U.S. Now, let's be honest, guys. Tasked with fighting ISIS? Probably not. Tasked with managing ISIS? It's probably a more accurate description. But once again, anybody surprised by this? Because I'm definitely not surprised by this. I expect this. But every single day, y'all, I am told that Ukraine is winning. Ukraine is pushing them back. The counteroffensive is successful, even though literally even Washington admitted the counteroffensive wasn't successful or isn't successful. But y'all are now getting, they already said they bring in the women, they're letting the women fight. And now they're like, hey, bro, can y'all send in some of those guys? If you're recruiting ISIS fighters, it makes me perhaps doubt the veracity of the claim that you are winning. Because it seems like y'all a little bit desperate. But more importantly, the U.S. involvement just reaffirms something that if you follow this channel, if you follow a lot of independent media, maybe you already know, or maybe not, but this reaffirms what we have been saying, what we have been talking about. How can the U.S. just orchestrate through a task force that manages ISIS? How can they work with Ukraine to let ISIS terrorists out of prison to go to Ukraine? it's almost as if ISIS and their freedom of movement, or lack thereof, depending on the day in the country and the year and the motives at the time, but it's almost as if their freedom of movement is determined by the US. So we got the US funding ISIS, which we already know, right? We already know that they fund terrorists. I know that like that might be like a shock to somebody who might be new here. But so you got US funding ISIS. Okay. The US funding neo-Nazis in Ukraine. Okay. But the US is also funding Israel. So it looks like the US just has a really bad habit in a well-documented history of funding terrorism all over the world. That's the main takeaway. But I'm genuinely curious, man. How do ISIS people gonna get along with the Azov battalion? They do know like Azov do not like them. They are brown. Like Azov battalion I don't think they have a problem with them being like terrorists. They probably have more of a problem with them being Muslim and brown. I don't know if that's gonna work. I just don't. Hey, look. But feuding factions of terrorist organizations do tend to work together when it's time to do what the US tells them to do. So maybe it will work out. But I just felt like that story is very emblematic of just how desperate Ukraine is, how quick Ukraine is to violate international law, how the international community does not say anything about it. In fact, they endorse it, and in the US's case, facilitate it. But I keep having to hear on the news every other day that Russia's a terrorist state. Bro, so Russia's a terrorist state, but Ukraine is quite literally recruiting terrorists. But Russia's a terrorist state. How's that how square the circle? How does that work, bro? I don't even know how we can. Now, I will say that the public is, I don't know if y'all have seen, but lately the public's opinion on the support of the Ukraine war has been just completely, it's gone. It's disappearing. It took long enough. It took long enough, goddamn it. But at the same time, the public opinion does need to turn into something real, like votes, not just votes, because I don't think voting can change the system alone. But like, needs to be people getting out in the street. Needs to be people reporting, like we've seen. It needs to be politicians, even if it's in a minority, like Gates, right? I don't care if it's Republican or Democrat. Like, we need politicians all over the world to call out Zelensky. We need y'all to call out the Nazism. And once again, like I said before, Hitler died, Nazism did not, which is why we see U.S. funding Nazis in the Ukraine and NATO. Man, isn't it crazy how like World War II ends and then Nazis end up in NATO, and then they spend a weirdly inordinate amount of time, energy, effort, and money to get Ukraine to join NATO. It's Ukraine, the same country with a bunch of Nazis in it. Isn't that super coincidental? What? That's crazy. Bryce Colley said Israel's God's chosen. I mean, I guess if you're going to say that America is God, like, y'all weren't chosen by a damn thing. Like, Israel is a state. Israel is a country that was man-made, that y'all was handed. I promise y'all, all those white people that y'all brought from Europe, y'all can't be like, oh, those guys are the people. Like, those white people from Europe that randomly decided to be Jewish, they got put in. So what you're saying is the land is what makes you chosen? Oh, then that means you're pro-Palestine, right? Because all those Palestinians were already there. before those Ashkenazi Jews decide to plant themselves. Right? I mean, that's only logic. Like, you weren't chosen in Europe, but y'all got chosen after. And are the Ethiopian Jews just as chosen, or is it only the Ashkenazi Jews that are chosen? Just asking for a friend. The Libyan Jews or the other Jews from Africa and from Yemen, like, are those migrants also chosen, or is it just the white Ashkenazi Jews? We're just trying to understand, because your definition of chosen seems to vary depending on, I mean, to be frank, depending on the skin tone, basically, is what I'm saying. Like, who's chosen exactly? Is it the land? Because if it's the land, then the Palestinians were there before, which means y'all not chosen. If it's the people, then why is it that African Jews get treated completely different than white Ashkenazi Jews? Just out of curiosity, I'm just trying to understand. Help me, help you. Help people understand. You gotta pick one. I mean, and to be quite and completely honest, and people don't know this, I think that Ethiopian Jews are like the oldest Jews in the world, if I'm not mistaken. They're also the oldest Christians in the world, culturally speaking. So there's that. Awkward. With that being said, ladies and gentlemen, once again, the Israel-Palestine issue before I go, because some of y'all might have came late. And I got to say it again. I got to. There is no both sides to the Israel-Palestine conflict. There is a side that is getting funded by the U.S., the same U.S. that I just told y'all is literally facilitating ISIS terrorists to help in Ukraine. The same Ukraine where the U.S. is funding neo-Nazis. Yeah, that same Ukraine. And the Israel is getting the majority of their money from those people. That same government. That altruistic government. Israel is like, literally, Netanyahu said he's about to announce a blockade. He's going to cut off the power. Excuse me? Just really quick. My first question, how the fuck are you doing that? You're telling me that it's actually Israel that's oppressed, because that's what people try to claim. If Israel lays down its weapons, and you full of shit. You're trying to tell me that the people that are oppressed can literally flick a switch and turn off the power to an entire group that they don't like? Come on, bro. Come on, bro. Like, how does that even make sense? Did y'all see the video of all the Israelis getting to the airport, running away? Which is crazy, right? Because I'm always told that Palestine is always on the attack. They're constantly attacking innocent people. Like, they make up all these stories about how ferocious Palestinians are, and how that's crazy, because before y'all weren't fleeing to the airport. So clearly something has changed in the last week. Palestine is denting a part of Israel in a way that we have not seen before, because I ain't never seen Israelis leave like this. They're flooding the airports. And you know what's crazy about that? Somebody asked, well, damn, why won't, if Palestinians are being treated like that, why won't they flee? Why don't they flood the airports? They're not allowed to. This is not conjecture. They are in an open air prison. They are not allowed to leave. Do you understand how insane that is? Israelis are literally saying Palestinians are committing all these terrorist attacks, are attacking them, are hurting innocent people, are impeding on Israeli sovereignty. And they literally, they will not allow Palestinians to leave. That is why you don't see them flood the airports when innocent Palestinians are being killed. That, and to be real, Palestinians have more intestinal fortitude to fight for what's theirs. It's shit. Hey, like I said, what I said about bullies earlier. Whenever like Israel was acting like it was the victim for years, for decades, right? This whole time they've been the victim. They've been the victim so much that they're doing trips. Oh, you want to come fly to Israel if you're Jewish and it's fully paid for? Come on, guys. You doing tourists? Damn, literally doing tours around Israel because y'all feel so scared, right? Y'all are victims against the Palestinian insurgency, right? But y'all, airports were never flooded like that. So clearly y'all didn't feel like y'all are the victims to that degree. And now y'all trying to get the fuck up out of there, huh? Isn't that, you know why? Because the bully got punched in the mouth. The bully has been bullied. And once again, like I said, I don't want to hear about the both sides shit if y'all weren't talking about this on Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, and Friday. When we were telling y'all, yeah, man, a village just got attacked by a bunch of Israelis again. A kid got kidnapped. Literally, like a 10-year-old boy got kidnapped and thrown into a car with IDF. Somebody talking about what did he do? That's probably why. Like, what? Yeah, a 10-year-old kid. I don't care what he did. Send his ass home. He's 10. Unless that kid literally murdered somebody, which it probably isn't the case, send him home. He's 10. Why is IDF out of all, like, isn't it the police? IDF throwing a kid. You guys are kidnapping, bro. So I don't want to hear about both sides. If you aren't both sidesing earlier this week, if you aren't both sidesing in August, September, whenever Israel was being aggressive in Palestine, again, if you aren't both sidesing every time they build a new settlement in Palestinian territory after saying they're not going to expand, if you are not both sidesing, then don't both sides whenever the bully gets punched in the mouth. It's that simple, bro. Don't both sides when the bully gets punched in the mouth. And when you weren't both sidesing when the bully was doing the punching and the bullying. I said it on Twitter, bro. I am a very pro 2A individual. Y'all know, well, I don't know. Maybe I don't know. I'm so 2A. I tell conservatives that they not 2A enough. Right? I'm like, y'all talking about, oh, I should, be able to have my little AR and no, I'm so 2A that if the government can have a drone, if the government can have a tank, then if you can afford it, you should be able to have a tank. Because the whole point of being 2A, the whole point of the Second Amendment is to protect yourself from governments, both foreign and domestic. In other words, they got tanks, we got tanks. If you can, like a gun, like if you can afford it, obviously. They got M4s, we got M4s. Y'all got fully automatics, we got fully automatics. That is I am about as 2A. I am a Black Panther leftist. I believe in fully arming the American public because that is the only way to protect it from the tyranny of the domestic government attempting to control it. So I have a very 2A approach that you would think a lot of conservatives would appreciate in this particular case. Because if I'm Palestinian, and if you say you understand the reason for being 2A, like I'm not talking about the reason like I'm a pose on Instagram, like the blonde hair and blue jeans and cowboy boots. I'm pro 2A, and no, you're posing as pro 2A. You don't understand if you're not supporting Palestine, and better yet, if you support Israel, then you don't understand the reason you have 2A. You don't fucking deserve to exercise that right. Why do you have 2A? To protect yourself from what? Governments, both foreign and domestic. To protect your land, to protect your property, to protect your family, and to protect your person. To protect your home. And if you side with Israel and then complain when Palestine protects itself, then you don't deserve the right to exercise your Second Amendment in the United States because you don't know what the fuck it's for. You do not know what it is for. It is exactly for the situations that Palestinians are experiencing at this very moment. And there are Israeli people who will lie to you dead to your face because, I mean, that's what they do. They'll say Palestinians, if you just put them in a vacuum, that Palestinians settlements aren't treated differently. They don't have different laws. If there's an apartheid, why don't they have? First of all, they do. First of all, that's one thing. Like literally, you can't leave. Like you can't leave. That's what I just said. Like you can't even take a damn airplane out. But I digress. I asked my friend who used to work for the IDF. I said, okay, do y'all have? I said, do Israelis have what we would call the Second Amendment, right, to bear arms in your homes? Yeah, of course, absolutely, we have that. I said, okay. What about the Palestinian settlements? No, can't. No, they can't have that. What the fuck? Then how are they equal? Well, no, it's different. Why is it different? Well, because what if them use it on in the Israeli mainland? Well, what if one of y'all go into one of their homes and just start popping off like y'all have tended to do? Well, no, it's different. Well, why is it different? Well, because of their tendencies. Or what do you mean? Their tendencies? The tendencies to defend themselves? They have peaceful protests. They're getting shot at peaceful protests, and they still don't shoot back. It takes Israel doing so much, inflicting so much pain and damage before Palestine even thinks about attacking. It's not difficult. If you understand 2A, then how can you be on the side of that domestic government that your 2A right was meant to defend yourself against? Could you imagine if the U.S. government, for some reason, just try to roll up in Texas and say, hey, man, look, we don't like the way y'all govern it. So we're sending in our National Guard. We're sending in some soldiers, police force from outside of Texas. We're about to annex y'all. You're going to be California Part 2. You're going to be New York. Could you imagine? No, you cannot. Because Texas would set this bitch off. And they would have the right to. Could you imagine a conservative defending the federal government in that regard? If they did roll up in Texas, trying to annex it and make it part of New York or New California or New DC, whatever the hell. Could you imagine conservative defending it? No, that sounds fucking ludicrous. And if those Texans exercise their Second Amendment right to defend themselves against their domestic government, do you think those conservatives would side with the Texans exercising their constitutional right or the domestic government? So let's try to keep it consistent, people. Let's try to be consistent. That's all I'm asking. I'm not mad at people. Listen, I want y'all to understand something real quick before I go. I'm not mad at you for having a difference of opinion. I don't judge you for feeling one way last year, yesterday, 20 years ago, and evolving. We all have our different journeys, and we're all limited by our experiences. Believe it or not, there are people who I normally agree with that they're wrong on this issue. I don't hate them all of a sudden. They're wrong. I'm gonna call them out. I'm disagree with them. I'm gonna have my opinion and make sure it's known. But that don't mean I hate you. We're all subject to the same propaganda, bro. There are things that I used to get wrong that I'm only now getting right within the last several years. But y'all have to know, like, it's not too late to get it right. It is not too late to be ideologically consistent. And when people in your circle, people in your little political clique, people in your algorithm, when they try to like, where is this coming from? Be honest. Be truthful. Be like, bro, I've always felt like this. I've always believed in the right to defend myself from governments, both foreign and domestic. I'm not going to change that now because of the Israeli flag being attached to the fucking propaganda this time. Because that's who I am. If you're going to be conservative, then stand on that shit. You know all the money we're giving to Israel? Stand, like, yo, I don't, like, personally, I don't have a problem with Iran. But I know a lot of conservatives have a problem with Iran. But be like, if I got a problem with us giving money we don't have to Iran and China, I damn sure going to have a problem with us giving that same money to Israel. Why? Because I'm a fiscal conservative. If you're going to be that, then be that. Don't change it up. At least be consistent. I shouldn't even have to say this to my leftist people, but I always have to say, you need to like be consistent too. Because look, man, y'all really used to get fucking mad at me about AOC and Bernie, bro. Y'all really did. Y'all got so mad. Cause I'm telling y'all, and Bernie just went full Zionist. Didn't even try to caveat. Alexandria Zionist Cortez decided she wanted to tweet from her representative account and didn't want to put out the tweet from her main account. Of course not. You know, she ain't been on IG Live. Y'all know whenever there's some shit that goes down where she gonna side with the wrong people, she avoids IG for a while. But let's be conservative. I mean, consistent. Be consistent in the same way you demand conservatives be consistent. There is one thing that I feel like everybody on this goddamn channel agrees with. Your disdain for Joe Biden in damn near any form. I just like I said yesterday, I said it on Twitter. I said, can you imagine agreeing with both Anthony Blinken and Joe Biden on any foreign policy? Any of them. Any of them. Name one. Can't think of one. Name a single, like, if your only agreement with Joe Biden on foreign policy is literally Israel and Palestine, just think about how ridiculous that sounds when you say it out loud. Just say, yeah, man, I agree with Joe Biden and Anthony Blinken on this Israel issue, even though I disagree with them on literally every other issue. Say those words to yourself out loud. So for real, say those words to yourself out loud. Try it. See how you feel. Like, see it. Like, because sometimes you ever get in an argument with your significant other and like you're talking to them, but they're not, and they say they agree with you, or they don't understand what you say. It's like, hey, say these words out loud so that they can hear themselves. Oh shit. Oh, that sounds crazy. What? I did that? Yeah, that's what happened. But sometimes you got to hear it from your own voice. And it's very difficult, for me at least, to say the words. I don't even believe them, but I cringe when I say that. Yeah, I definitely agree with Joe Biden and Anthony Blinken on this Israel issue, even though I disagree with them on literally every other issue, because I know that they're neocons and they're propagandists and they only work for the empire and the globalist elite. But on this issue, they're probably right. Think about it. Think about it. That sounds insane. And Nikki Haley. Yeah, all three of them. Every time that Nikki Haley, Anthony Blinken, Joe Biden, Fox News, MSNBC, CNN, New York Times. Yeah, I know I normally disagree with almost everything that they say, but I agree with okay, now actually I need to really evaluate the fuck. Maybe I'm wrong here, and maybe I've been wrong, and I just got to admit that I was subject to propaganda like everybody else has been at some point in their lives. And y'all really quick before I go, I want to talk. I keep saying I'm gonna go, but before I go, I do want to talk about this. I wanted to talk about it yesterday, but I didn't get a chance to. Y'all know Dr. West and RFK Jr. are going independent. Dr. West leaving the Green Party, RFK Jr. leaving the Democratic Party. I can't really tell you why Dr. West is doing it. Other than maybe, like Joe Stein said on Sabby's channel, maybe he just didn't like the Green Party politics. That I do not blame him for. As somebody who knows the dirty laundry about the Green Party. And the fact that I know, even though she didn't say it on the show, but Jill does not really like the Green Party has actually tried to hamper Jill on many occasions. So maybe that's why he doesn't want to toe the Green Party talking points line. But I don't know if that was it either, because Howie Hawkins damn sure didn't toe any line. That boy went straight neoliberal. So I don't know if that's it. Some people are blaming Peter Dow, but that would be weird. Once again, I don't. Peter Dow in that particular situation, he was recommended by Jill, so I don't know why he would then convince West to leave. I don't know. RFK Jr. going independent makes 100% sense. Fuck the Democratic Party. Glad he's doing it. His opinion on Israel and Palestine is 100% wrong. He needs to fix that shit like yesterday. We don't owe blind loyalty to anything, but separate from that conversation, just from a strategic standpoint, it makes sense for him to go independent. But I do want to be clear about something that a misconception strategically and electorally that people seem to have. They believe that the Green Party has a lot of ballot access that they actually don't have anymore. And I need people and I'm saying this because y'all also have to understand why strategically RFK, if you're a supporter of his, why he feels confident he can go independent and still make waves. The Green Party they got a lot of ballot access with Jill. I think she said they got 40 states. They got a lot of ballot access eventually with Howie Hawkins. They said during his run, got 45 states. But what people don't realize is that to maintain ballot access, you have to meet certain qualifications in either gubernatorial or presidential elections after you get the initial ballot access. The Green Party did not run they didn't run candidates across the country in gubernatorial elections, and therefore lost a lot of ballot access. And so now they're West is in the middle of a primary where he's still trying to get them on the same page as him. And I could see where the disagreements would be at, but they're not concentrated enough on getting ballot access because they're not united necessarily behind West as I think that people would expect them to be. They were united behind the elite of the Green Party, were united behind Howie. So it was a lot easier to make people fall in line. The elite of the Green Party may or may not be united behind West, and based off of the interview with Sabby that Jill Stein did, it sounds like they're not necessarily in alignment. And so now you're working on trying to get in alignment when you should be working on trying to get ballot access, but they don't even know if they want to give you ballot access. And people need to just understand, every state has unique qualifications, and almost every single state, you have to constantly meet those qualifications. And as an independent in a lot of states, it is actually easier to get on the ballot if you have the right team and the right network. It's easy because you're not trying to represent the whole party. You're not trying to remain on the ballot for, because what parties have to wrestle with, parties in general have to wrestle with maintaining your party's ballot access, okay, for the state, for everybody. It isn't just about the presidential campaign or the government, it's for everybody. So you're trying to maintain the entire party. If you're independent, I'm worried about my ballot access for this particular election, and that is where my focus is. And it's easier. And of course, the downside is if you do it, again, you have to get ballot access again. But I think that people would agree that if you do well and you get a huge audience and a lot of voters and a lot of support, individual donations, et cetera, it obviously becomes increasingly easier for you as an individual to get ballot access again, which is not necessarily the case for parties. And the Green Party can't keep ballot access right now, even though they've been around forever. The Libertarian Party is an exception, and like Jill said, because they actually buy their way onto the ballot. You can spend money to do it too. But for RFK Jr. and they have different reasons for doing it. But for those who are confused as to why, like I don't really care. I'm like that. I don't. The going independent thing for me is like, okay, random, kind of weird that like you picked Peter Dowd because the Green Party told you to, and then you took a lot of heat for it, and you left the People's Party for ballot access reasons, and then like you took a lot of heat for that, for joining and for leaving, and then you leave. You know what I'm saying? Like now you're going fully independent. And I don't know what the plan is for ballot access yet, and that's unfortunate that I don't know what the plan is for ballot access yet, because the Jimmies of the world, like the Nikos of the world, the Sabbies, and the people who can spread the message and get people organized on the ground, like you would want them to know what the hell your plan is, right? So they can talk about it and other people can get involved. So just saying, I don't know what his plan is, but I just wanted to clear that up because people have been asking me about it. Just because the Green Party had ballot access in 45 states under Howie Hawkins does not mean they maintain it. And once again, obviously in RFK situation, the Democratic Party is they're doing the same thing they always do, but it's actually even worse than before. And in some cases, it is actually easier to get ballot access as an independent than it is when you're dealing with I hate to say it, but an obscure party in a situation like the Green Party. But I am curious to see how it develops, because to be honest, this could be one of the very few situations where you can be like, damn, somebody actually was a spoiler this time. Like it could end up like that. It could end up like that, and we need a spoiler. I think I'm looking forward to somebody fucking shit up. I'm here for the chaos. I am here for the political chaos. I am here for it. So hope that cleared up any questions y'all had about that particular situation. If y'all want me to do a more in-depth like analysis of ballot access and stuff like that, I can do one later. Just let me know. Next week, I might stream a little bit, but I'm traveling next week. So maybe not. Let you guys know. But you can catch my hotspot posts. I'll still be doing that all week, except for Monday. Except for Tuesday. So go follow Hotspot on Twitter and Instagram. Hotspot on Twitter, at Hotspot, and at Hotspot on Instagram. And of course, go follow me on Twitter. And you can support my show by joining my Patreon, becoming a premium subscriber on Rockfin, Cash App you can use, Bitcoin. My address is there too. Any of those would be greatly appreciated. Y'all know we not monetized on YouTube, and after this stream, I doubt we're getting monetized anytime soon. So your support is greatly, greatly, greatly appreciated as we try to get back into streaming form. I know, like y'all, yeah, I'm streaming, but y'all know what I'm saying. Like y'all know what my show usually looks like. We're like usually a well dressed up, nice television production, and we're not quite there yet. Again, we transitioning, so. Support the show. Subscribe if you have not yet. Free Palestine. Follow us on Rockfin. That link is in the description too. Follow us on Rumble. Follow me on Twitter. Oh, and Telegram. If you want to make sure that you get my live stream updates, I always post when I'm going live or I'm about to go live in my Telegram. I also post content updates and breaking news. So subscribe to my Telegram. The link is in the description. If you don't have Telegram, you missing out, because a lot of good news from your favorite journalists who are being censored in other ways in other places. A lot of great channels are on Telegram, including mine, of course. So go follow me on Telegram. Subscribe there if you have not yet. Follow me on Instagram at Real Niko House. Follow me on TikTok at Real Niko House. And always remember, more than anything else, find your balance. Peace.